Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and we're looking at a blast from the past. So if you're like me and grew up in the 80s and you watched a lot of English movies, I had to add that in since I'm not from the West, um, English language movies rather, and you watched a lot of movies with, that were oriented towards kids. You may have watched this movie which is, geared mainly towards children, and it's a fantasy film called The NeverEnding Story. So it is actually based on this book by a German author, and it's a West German and American, West Germany at that time, West German and American co-production, and it's filled with nostalgic scenes for a lot of us who grew up watching it. It surprisingly, I didn't know until like 2011 or 2012 that this movie actually had two sequels. I have watched them once each, but this one is way better than the other two. But I do plan to rewatch the others, the second and the third one as well, and do the reviews for those along with this. So the movie stars Noah Hathaway, who, if you are a original Battlestar Galactica fan, you would know that he plays Boxy, and he's just a little bit more older in this movie. Barrett Oliver plays Bastian, Tammy Stronach plays the childlike Empress, and I think this was her first movie role if I'm not mistaken. Then you have Deep Roy as in a small role as well. And I don't know the name of the actor. I can't really. Thomas Hill. He is a grumpy bookstore keeper. Excuse me. A grumpy bookstore keeper. I remember watching him in the miniseries V, another blast from the past, where he plays a priest who gets killed by the end of the second miniseries. Anyway, we're here to talk about the NeverEnding Story. So, Bastian is this 10-year-old boy whose mother has recently passed away, and his father's not really emotionally attached to his boy. I mean, he wants the best for the son, of course, but the boy is kind of like a lonely character. On his way to school, he is attacked by some bullies who keep stealing his lunch money, and they dump him into the garbage while trying to escape from them. He hides in this bookstore and meets Mr. Coriander. That's his name, who's the grumpy storekeeper, and he sees this book that was lying on the table, and he wants to read it. It's called The NeverEnding Story. The bookkeeper initially tells him it's not really meant for him. It's not really a safe book, but the boy has read a lot of things that normal kids his age wouldn't have read, so he's really interested in this particular book. So he takes the book without when the bookstore keeper's back is turned. However, we are led to believe that he does want the kid to read this novel. He reaches school, but he's late, and the math test has actually started. So he goes and hides himself in the attic at the school and starts to read the novel. In the novel, it's set in this fantasy land called Fantasia. Yeah, very original. But the creatures of Fantasia are worried because there is this force that seems to spread throughout the land, eating up the land, destroying everything in its path. And it's called the Nothing. And basically, it destroys everything, and then all you see is nothing at that point. So there are some of these creatures that you get to see, including Deep Roy's character. You get to see them going to. Excuse me, I've got a cold right now. You see them going to the palace where the childlike empress who rules Fantasia lives, and they try to go and get her help. Unfortunately, she has taken ill, and one of her priests say that they try to look for a cure, and they are seeking a warrior who will go and try to find the cure for her. Atreyu, who is a young boy warrior, played by Noah Hathaway, he volunteers, and he's given this medallion to keep him safe. He jumps on his white horse, and he goes to find the cure. So he has several adventures on the way. Uh, I can't remember the name of the excuse me, of the horse. One second. Hey, I'm back. I had to kind of like take care of my of my little cold in between. Yeah, the horse's name is actually called Artax. So he goes to this giant turtle-like creature called Morta, who's the ancient one. She tells him to go to, and this is basically the swamp of sadness. Although Atreyu is actually protected because of the medallion, the horse stumbles into great sadness and sinks into the swamp, not wanting to get out, and he's lost to the boy. The boy is then saved by almost killed by this creature, a wolf, big wolf-like creature that is sent by the Nothing to kill him. But the boy is rescued by Falcor, who is a fluffy dragon kind of thing with a face of a dog. That's the best way. I mean, that is what they were going for. Falcor, the luck dragon called Falcor, and he takes him to the home of two gnomes who live near the southern oracle. So they basically take care of him and bring him back to health after giving him a meal, and then he decides to go and try to find the answer to the cure by going to the southern oracle. The oracle basically tells him that the only way to save the empress is to find a human child who lives beyond the boundaries of Fantasia, and he has to give the empress a name, a new name, because she doesn't really have one. She is called the childlike empress. And when he goes and sees in the mirror, he sees a reflection of Bastian, and Bastian is actually surprised. Can't be really him. Anyway, so he goes and he unfortunately falls off Falcor, and he's left on some shores of the ruin. He meets a rock, a creature that's like waiting for the Nothing to come. He sees some ruins, and he sees there's a painting of him and losing the horse and all that stuff, and he finds Gomorrek, who is the wolf, and the wolf tries to attack him, but Atreyu kills him. He finally reaches, he's once again reunited with Falco, who takes him to the palace. He meets the princess, and they decide to they call basically Bastian. The Nothing is coming and consuming everything in its past, and is about to get the childlike empress and the palace when she calls Bastian, and Bastian finally joins them, and he's drawn into Fantasia, and he gives the empress a name which I have never he calls her Moonchild. I've never remembered what he gives the name, and therefore Fantasia is saved little by little. She tells Bastian to start making wishes. The more wishes he makes, the more Fantasia will be restored, and more Fantasia will grow and be restored to even better heights. So that's what he does. And at the end of the movie, you see him riding Falcor, going throughout the world, going onto Earth as well, and scaring the crap out of those boys, those bullies and this thing. And then as the movie draws to a close, we find that Bastian will have more wishes and more adventures, but that's another story. So a second and third movie, you get to see a little bit more of the things that happen. But yeah, that concludes the NeverEnding Story. It's like I said, it's a fun movie to watch, especially if you were a kid and you grew up watching it. I don't know how kids these days would actually enjoy it, but I love it. It's something which probably could sit and watch at any time. It's actually quite a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, like I mentioned, people who have grown up, who are kids these days, they might not really enjoy it that much. But yeah, do watch this movie. It's fantastic. How much would I rate it? I think I would give it an 8.5 out of 7. 8.5 out of 10. Having been made in 1984, not really backed by a big studio, so it's actually quite fun to watch. Falcor is something which I think a lot of kids do enjoy. yeah, it's the rock creature is pretty fun to see as well. Pretty amazing. He eats limestone, big boulders and stuff. That's quite fun to watch. The racing snail, all those characters are pretty good. So yeah, huge blast from the past. 8.5 out of 10 for me. Watch it. I definitely will. I have to get the movies into my collection pretty soon. I think that's going to be one of the next few purchases as soon as I get some money from my online stuff that I do. And if so, would really love to have it in my collection. So thank you guys. I shall see you again in more reviews coming up pretty soon. Bye bye.